Welcome to the MisAdventures of Miss Lindsey. I am your host, Miss Lindsey. So, some of you may know me from the Edge of the Galaxy YouTube channel, and I talk about Star Wars all the time, which is great because I love Star Wars, as you can see behind me, some of my collection. Anyway, this podcast is a way for me to sort of highlight other things that I'm interested in, other stuff about me that you might not know. Today, we are going to talk about my career. I know that might seem a little different to start with, but I started this YouTube journey and I've really started to gravitate more and more towards it, and it's becoming more of, I would say, a career path than a hobby or anything else. And I kind of wanted to explain how I got there. So let's dive in. All right. So, like I said, my name is Lindsey. I am 40 years old. I like to refer to myself as 25. It just makes me feel better. And I am currently a teacher and part-time YouTuber. Like I said, I have a Star Wars channel, Edge of the Galaxy, and it's good. We talk a lot about Galaxy's Edge and Disney and all of that good stuff. Merchandise, food, everything under the sun. So here we go. Let's dive into my career. All right, so let's go all the way back to college. I know, college. As a wonderfully mature 18-year-old, as most 18-year-olds are, I had to decide pretty early on, what am I going to be when I grow up? Well, I did not have a clue. You might say that some kids know exactly what they want to be when they grow up. They know exactly what they're going to do when they graduate from high school and what they're going to go to college for and the whole shebang. I did not. I had no clue what I wanted to be, what I wanted to do. I had no direction. I had, over the years, changed my mind multiple times, trying to choose something to do, as most little kids do. I started off wanting to be a teacher. I wanted to be a doctor at one point. I wanted to be a lawyer again. Like, it was all over the place. Who knew what I wanted to be? So yeah, I had some college roommates, and they were a little bit older than I was, and they were marketing majors. And to be blunt, I really didn't even know what marketing was. I know, it sounds terrible, right? But I went with it and declared myself a marketing major. I took some classes, learned about advertising, all of that good stuff that you learn in those sort of programs, and I liked it. I did. I liked it. I liked that creative aspect of it, the being able to create an advertisement, find a product, market it to people, get people involved, find creative ways to get revenue to come in, all of that good stuff. I really liked it. I did. The more I got into the classes, I really did enjoy it. So it really was at the time a good choice. So anyway, I finished college. I actually had finished 2 years of college in high school. So that's why I had to choose a major so quickly, because it was like time. So I did that. I graduated and I got my first job. Yeah. I applied for lots and lots of different jobs. A lot of them ended up being like salesy positions, like for commission. And I realized quickly that wasn't for me. I wasn't quite this salesperson. I did not want to go door to door and business to business and trying to figure out how I was going to put food on the table for myself. So quickly decided that, I wasn't going to do one of those jobs. So this other job kind of fell into my lap. It was an administrative assistant job at a marketing firm, very small one. I go, I do the interview, I get the job. I was asked during the interview process, I was shown a flyer. And they said, "Hey, can you reproduce this flyer?" And I was like, sure. I mean, there wasn't really much to it. It was basically a Word document with arrows and lines and bold printing and that kind of thing. It didn't look very difficult. So I said, sure, I can totally do that. So I was kind of the girl I went to create an advertisement, to create an online flyer. So I did. I recreated flyers. I made flyers. I contacted customers, set up campaigns, did all of the stuff. Really got into it. I liked it a lot. Then my position sort of changed into being a personal assistant for my boss, running errands for him, whatever he needed done during the day. So I did that for a little while. Then he decided he was going to move his business to California because he wanted to move there. And I didn't want to move to California. So that ended that relationship, unfortunately. Some of my coworkers decided to, they were single, they didn't have anything tying them down. They went off to California on an adventure, and I just stayed behind. I was like, no, thank you. So I was, kind of scrambling for a job. Needed to find something. And waitressing became my thing. I did that all through college, and I did that to pay the bills in the meantime. Then this job at a technical school that my mom worked at sort of fell into my lap. The girl that was doing it had quit because she got a better job somewhere else, and they needed somebody to take over marketing for the school, the technical school for adults, and the high school for high school students. And I thought that sounded great. Why not? I mean, I was young. It was a good job. They had benefits. I mean, who doesn't want a job with benefits? So, I jumped all over that. I interviewed briefly and pretty much got the job right away. Started making marketing materials, catalogs, flyers, brochures, doing recruitment activities, all of that stuff. And in the meantime, I was working really closely with the guidance counselor at the time. And I didn't really know much about guidance counselors or what they do or any of that. And kind of through working with him, I was able to see what that was about. What do guidance counselors do? Like I said, I went to school for marketing, so I didn't go to school for education. So being a teacher was kind of off the table for me, and I wasn't going back to school to do that. So I thought, what's the next best thing? Well, why don't we further the career and get a master's degree in school guidance and counseling? So I did that. And did the whole program, the internship, everything. And it ended up being pretty good. During the process, I did lose that position. They got rid of it. It was during the 2008, I believe, a little bit of a recession, a little bit of cutbacks. And my position was one of those positions that was kind of extra and just nice to have. So I was let go, and I was really upset about it. It really hurt. So I got a job waitressing at a local barbecue restaurant and finished school and all of that. And, you know, then I started applying for jobs. Thought, okay, I've gone to school. I got a master's degree. I am golden. Little did I know that many administrators wanted you to have classroom teaching experience. And I had zero. I hadn't even been a substitute. So, yeah, I didn't know what to do with that. Like every interview I went on, it was like, well, have you been taught before? Like, why haven't you taught? And I'm like, well, I went to school for business. I didn't go to school for education. So to make a very long story very short, I searched for a job for 10 years. I know, it seems like a very, very long time, and it was a very, very long time. In the meantime, I was working at the restaurant, making pretty decent money. I, finished the school program. Like I said, I was applying for jobs, and I finally decided, hey, why don't I try to be a substitute teacher? I could do that a couple of days a week and get my feet wet in the classroom, and then maybe that will count as some classroom experience. So I looked into that and applied. Why not? I was really excited. I thought, how can I not? Like, I should at least get an interview. And what happened? The unthinkable happened, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I got denied being interviewed, like flat out. And I'm like, how did that even happen? Like, what is going on? And my mom actually told me, why don't you reach out to somebody like at HR, like whoever, and just ask, like, why did I not get at least an interview? I mean, I know you're not guaranteed to get an interview or anything. Like, I'm not saying that, but it was just odd that I got the thanks but no thanks letter on a part-time substitute teacher job when I was more than qualified to do it. I turned in every piece of paper that they asked for. I had worked at a school previously. There was really no reason to not be able to apply for this job and get an interview. So I got the thanks but no thanks letter. We've all had one of those, have we not? I've had many of those over the years. It's debilitating and so crushing when you get one of those, especially when you feel so good about a position, about an interview, about a school, and you just get the thanks, but no thanks. Signed by, Mr. Principal. And you're like, oh, it hurts so much. I have been there and I have done that. I really, really have. Anyway, I reached out to not only someone at HR, but the head of HR. And I explained, hey, I applied for this job. I did everything that I needed to do, and I wasn't interviewed. He actually wrote me back, which was surprising. I really didn't think that was going to go anywhere. I reached up to the highest person that I could find on the directory at HR and thought, okay, here we go. So he reached out to me and asked for a little bit more detail on my situation. And I explained it to him. And he pulled some strings and got me an interview. Because come to find out, some clerical person down at HR, some administrative assistant type person, lost my paperwork. lost part of my paperwork, put it somewhere where it shouldn't have been, and didn't scan it into the system. So I was missing key information that I was supposed to have submitted. So they found it, scanned it again, and I got an interview. I go in there, I felt really good about it, and I got the position. Now, it wasn't a fantastic job. It was a part-time substitute teacher job, so there were no benefits. I could sort of have a flexible schedule. I think you had to work a certain amount of hours every week, and that was it. I started, and let me tell you, if you've ever been a sub, or if you know a sub, or you've experienced having a sub in your classroom while you were a student, you know that substitutes walk into nightmare scenarios most of the time. Students are trying to get away with murder while their teacher is gone. Like I said earlier in the beginning of this whole thing, I'm a teacher now, and my students have had a sub, and I have heard some stories. So I know students try to get away with whatever they can get away with, whenever they can get away with it. And substitutes, unfortunately, most of them don't really care very much. I hate to say that, but I've seen it. They really don't. And they just let the kids do whatever, and then they move on to the next school the next day. And they don't really care. I cared because I had bigger goals. This was a stepping stone on my trail to my career, and I was doing whatever I could to get there. So I subbed and subbed and subbed. And then someone told me, hey, if you sub at the same schools over and over again, like find a couple schools that you like and sub there all the time. Get your face in front of administration, in front of the school secretary, who usually handles subbing, and get your face out there. Same place all the time. Get them to know your name, and when a position opens up, you can apply, and they already know you. They know you do a good job. They know you show up on time. They know you put in the work. They might hire you. So I did that. I picked a couple schools that were near my house and subbed all the time. One of which was a school that my mom worked at. So a position opened up at that school. It was a computer teacher position. It wasn't really a teaching position. It was a paraprofessional position. So you didn't get paid as a teacher, but you had to do all the teacher work. But it was a full-time job. I got benefits. I made pretty decent money, and it was at a school. So at one school. So I could do a good job doing what I was doing and hopefully get positioned into a better position of either becoming a guidance counselor or moving into a classroom of my own, being considered a real teacher. So I put in the work. I worked really hard. When I started that job, there was no curriculum, nothing. It was a specials class, like a block class, like PE or music. And I had taught every kid at school, kindergarten through 5th grade, every class. And I had to create my own curriculum, create my own projects, create my own stuff. All I had was a computer lab. So I did that. I did everything I could. While doing this job, I took all of the teacher exams beyond the subject area. I took the general knowledge test, the professional teaching test. I did part of the ESOL program for speakers of other languages. I put in the work. I tried many times over the 2 or 3 years that I was working there to get a teaching position at that school. And the assistant principal was cool. She believed in me and thought that I would probably be a really good teacher. I tried to be, very active with her, having her come in and see what we were doing in class, make a point to tell her what we were doing in class. The principal wasn't as approachable to me, and he flat out told me, he said this to me the last year that I was there. He said that I wasn't teaching material, that he didn't think I would do a good job. He didn't really say it that way. I can't really remember the exact words that he said, but he basically insinuated that I was not going to do a good job, that I wasn't cut out for this. So at that point, I was really, really discouraged. I had put in, I think, 2 years of my time into this position. I felt like I was doing a really good job. I started a before school tutoring program where I actually taught students. They had us doing a kindergarten intervention program where we had kindergartners come in during the day and worked with them on skills. And it just wasn't working. Like, I didn't know what I was doing wrong, but it just wasn't working. So I applied that summer for job after job after job. And like I told you before, I have received so many thanks but no thanks letters. I went on a interview for a school for a 3rd grade position. 3rd grade's a little scary because of testing, but I thought, you know what? I don't care. I don't care what position I get. I just have to get a position. And during this time, I was getting divorced, which is probably the worst time ever to be changing careers. But I needed it for me. I needed it for my kids. We needed to do this. So I applied, and I turned on the charm and I knocked it out with this interview. And I got a phone call from the principal and he offered me the position, and I was so excited. I thought, I have done so much work. It has been 10 years. 10 years of thanks but no thanks and trial and error and tears. I'm getting emotional thinking about it. It was this moment where like everything finally came together. Everything was great. Everything seemed to be going in the right direction for me. My marriage was falling apart, but my career was finally soaring in the right direction. So I started this job, and like I said, I have never taught before. I only taught computer and subbed. I never taught in a classroom before. And I didn't really have a mentor. I sort of did, but she was approachable. I don't want it to sound like she was not helping me because she was trying to, but I think she wasn't made aware that she was supposed to be my mentor for a while. Like, it was really into the school year before she really started to sort of help me and let me know she was there for me. I felt very much alone and isolated. My team wasn't very cohesive. It wasn't a good situation. I was going through a divorce. I was all over the place emotionally, and I didn't know what I was doing, and it was really terrible. At the end of the school year, they let me go, and probably with good cause. Probably. I probably could have turned it around with some coaching, more assistance, maybe some professional development classes or something, but I totally understand why that happened. It was a mess. The behavior was off the charts. I didn't know what I was doing, and I wasn't in a good place. So, yeah, that really hurt, but gave me the power to keep moving. So, obviously I'm devastated. At the time, I'm in tears. I don't know what I'm going to do. I applied for tons of jobs in my school district. Didn't get anything. Got some interviews, but once they found out that my contract had not been renewed, they weren't very interested. They're like, oh, you're a first year and you didn't get renewed? Red flag. So that didn't go so well. I didn't really know where to go with that. I was pretty devastated. At this point, I was divorced and I needed to fix this for me and my family. So I applied at another neighboring school district. Lots of different schools. And I got a position at a school. I wasn't familiar with this area. I wasn't familiar with the people that lived in the area. I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. I was coming off the heels of working at a Title I school. This was a Title I school as well. I thought, okay, it's going to be a struggle, but I can do it. It was a third grade position, and school year starts. It was bad. This school was in a really tough part of town. Really tough. The behavior of the students was insane, and I had an undiagnosed special needs student in my class. And his behavior was so bad that it drove the other kids to misbehave as well. And it became very, very clear that the school wasn't going to do much about him not receiving his services and not being in the proper environment. And I just had to deal with it. I'll be frank, he threw a chair at me. I mean, I literally had a bruise on my leg from getting hit with a chair. I was fearing for my safety. He destroyed my classroom multiple times over. He was a frequent flyer with the office. They took him out of my classroom for a long time and put him back after a while, and the same behavior would go. Come to find out, he was diagnosed with autism by a doctor, and his paperwork for getting into a special program had been misplaced. It was never received by the school in their eyes, and he was placed in my class. I missed a spot. I told you, I started off in third grade. They did this big shakeup about halfway through the school year, and I got moved to a first grade classroom. So this student was a first grader. And they moved a lot of people around. A lot of things were going on. The school was heading down a very bad path as far as behavior and grades and test scores. So I got moved to first grade, and the student was a first grader. So, to go back where we were, they found his paperwork, but it had been misplaced. It never got entered into the system, and we had to start from square one, getting him the help that he needed. So we went through all the meetings, everything. By the end of the year, they finally had gotten it sorted out. But at this point, it was too late. It was beat down by the end of the year, and they blamed all of this on me. I took the hit. I took one for the team, I guess. his behavior and the behavior of the other students reacting to his behavior became my problem. It really wasn't fair. It really wasn't, but I was terminated again. So I don't know if you're sensing a pattern here, but I was fired for the second time in the second school district that I worked in. This is my second job ever. I was really hearing the words of that principal when I was teaching computer who told me I wasn't cut out for this. And it was starting to make me really doubt myself, doubt my abilities, just doubt my entire career path that I had been working so hard towards. So, what am I going to do in this situation? Well, I had remarried at this point, I think. I'm trying to remember when we got married. I know we were together. I'll say that much. We were together in a serious relationship. I don't recall if we were actually married at this point. But anyway, I got fired again. I was absolutely devastated, didn't know what I was going to do, and I just didn't know what to do. I mean, what do? You press on. So I, had my moment, cried it out, worked it out with my spouse, and let's go. We got to get a job. So I busted my butt trying to apply for jobs in that current school district. And again, they would hear that I was not renewed and I was basically ignored. The stigma of not being renewed and having other principals find out about it was not only embarrassing, but it was like as soon as they heard that, no matter what qualifications you had, no matter how well the interview was going, you didn't stand a chance. There was no getting past that. So it was really, really hard to constantly get that thanks but no thanks, even at schools that were desperate for teachers. Desperate. I went to job fairs. I applied online. I applied in other school districts. I didn't know what to do. I was sinking fast. So my spouse's ex-wife worked at a school district that was a different one than the one I was working at. But it wasn't too far from my house. So I used her for a reference. She let me. And I got a job at a school not too far from my house, teaching 5th grade. I had never taught 5th grade before. Remember, at this point, I've taught 3rd grade and 1st grade. No 5th grade. So I was teaching 5th grade. Things were going pretty well, I thought. I had learned a lot over the years of, missteps with behavior and all that. I definitely had some behavior in my class, but who doesn't? And it was going pretty well in my eyes. Then COVID-19 struck and schools shut down and we all went virtual. That was fun. So I had to work from home. I had to meet with my students once a week. I had to teach them, I guess, and make it work. And I did. I did everything I could to keep the train on the tracks. Testing got canceled that year, so I didn't have to worry about the state test. And that was it. I mean, we finished out the year. We're getting close to the finish line. Everything was great. And the principal called me into the school to sign something. She said she needed to meet with me so I could sign something. I didn't know what. Didn't know what I was walking into. Go down there. Fires me. Out of nowhere. Didn't see it coming. Didn't know what was going on. Would not give me an explanation. She wouldn't say a word. She let me sit there in her office with her and the school secretary while I cried in devastation of what am I going to do now? I have to go home and I have to tell my spouse that for the third time, the third year in a row, I have been fired. And this time, I didn't do anything. I absolutely didn't do anything. I had the union investigate it, but because I was on a temporary contract at the time, because it was my first year working for that school district, there was nothing they could do. Not a thing. So I lost my job. So again, I had my crying moment and I dug deep, went for the virtual job fair, same school district, and applied, and interviewed all summer long. So yeah, this was the third summer in a row that I spent applying for jobs and going on interviews. I could never plan anything fun. I couldn't really enjoy myself. I couldn't ever really relax because it was always, I have to find a job. I have to find something. I can't do this. The worst part about this is that my youngest daughter has special needs and takes medication, and I lost my health insurance. My spouse had to put us on medical plan, and we had to pay. We paid for it. It was bad. It was really devastating for that to happen. I got an interview at a school that wasn't too far away from my house, a little deeper into the county than I wanted to go, but at this point I didn't really care. It was wherever I could get a job. So I got a job at the school teaching 5th grade again. And I was assigned virtual school because remember, this is in the middle of the pandemic. So there were some students that elected to go to school, but there were some parents that were still keeping their kids home, and those kids were my class. So I had all virtual kids. I worked from home. I sat at my dining room table, made that my little classroom, and I taught from there pretty much all year. I was told in January that I had to teach hybrid. So I had to teach half of my class online and half of my class in person. So I had to go to school. I was terrified to go to school because remember, this is in the middle of the pandemic. We're all wearing masks still, and it was scary. I really didn't want to go, and I had to. So I went. I kept my distance from most people that worked there, so I didn't have to worry about getting sick, and I did my best. Thought, you know what, this is my year. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna get renewed. I have done everything I can do. I have had good evaluations. There is no reason under the sun that I should not get rehired. So that is the problem with teaching positions. Your contract is for a school year until you are put on a professional contract. I was still on a temporary contract. And every time you get fired and you get put back on a contract, you're on a temporary contract until you get that professional one. Professional one gives you a little bit more leeway and it makes it a little more tough for them to terminate you. I couldn't ever get there. So I was on this temporary contract again. I got called into the principal's office again. And she terminated me. But she told me, you know what? I don't think that you suck. I don't think that you are a bad teacher. I just don't think that you fit this school. And she was probably right. It was a tough school. It's a Title I school in a not so great area, very low income students, behavior problems. Yeah, I mean, I probably wasn't a good fit for the school, but I was willing to do whatever I could to avoid losing my job. She didn't fire me on paper, so she did me a solid there. And she said, wherever you apply, wherever you get an interview, tell me. I'll put in a good word for you. I will write you a glowing recommendation letter. I want to help you. This is the first time that a principal said that to me. Most of the time, dealing with principals, they didn't care what I was doing. They didn't care what was going on. They just wanted me out. She took the time to help me. I got an interview at a school a little bit closer than that one, actually. Same relative area, but closer to my house. Probably by a good 15 or 20 minutes. So I was excited about that. I drove past this school all the time, going to my current school that I was working at. And I always thought, that looks like a nice little school to work at. It was an online interview, because remember, pandemic again. And it was for a 4th grade job. I interviewed. I did a great job. I felt really good about it. I felt great about the principal. It's just, all of it seemed great. Everyone, it was a big group interview. There was a lot of people on the call. And they were all really nice. I answered their questions really fairly. It was great. I don't know if it was later that day or if it was later that week, maybe the next day. I want to say it was that day, though. I don't remember, to be fair. I got a phone call from the principal inviting me to join the team. I couldn't even believe it. I could not. I mean, I had been fired 4 times. 4 times at this point. Twice in the same school district. But once, that last time, wasn't on paper. Because if you get fired in my current school district, terminated, let go, not renewed, however you want to word it, you only get 2 chances. And after that, you can't work in the school district anymore. And she knew that. She knew that I had been let go one other time. She didn't want that to happen to me. So she didn't fill out the paperwork. I got this position. I was able to transfer to another school. I was able to keep my health benefits. I was able to just do a transfer. I thought, okay, I got to do it. I made it to the professional contract, the coveted professional contract. And I was excited, really excited. I was teaching 4th grade, which at this point I had taught 3rd, 1st, and 5th, not 4th. Here I was teaching 4th. I was in person teaching, which I hadn't really done very much of in the past couple years. And I was nervous. I really was. I didn't know what to expect. Brand new school, brand new team, different kids. Yeah, here we go. So I hit the ground running. I did anything and everything I could keep my job. Everything. Anything that was asked of me. I had glowing recommendations, evaluations, all the good stuff. I stayed in cahoots with administration and dug deep. End of the year rolls around. I'm always braced for it. I'm always on edge. I've never, ever, ever felt 100% comfortable at a school. Ever. I always feel like I'm going to get fired because that's what's happened. What, 4 times? So I get called to the principal's office. I know what she's doing. She's doing placement for next year. I actually got a letter. I think I still have it somewhere that said, I got renewed. Your contract's been renewed. I have never in my years of teaching gotten that letter. It was probably one of the best days of my life so far. I was so relieved. My spouse was through the moon excited for me. My family was excited for me. I was in. But I didn't know what grade she was going to give me. Was I going to stay in the 4th grade? Was I going to move to a different grade? And if I was going to move to a different grade, what grade was I going to get? So I get called to the principal's office, go in, sit down with her. She goes over my final evaluation. Everything's looking good. She's very nice. She's actually on her way out of the school. She's going to a different school. So this was her kind of wrapping things up for whoever's going to be in charge next year. And we still don't really know that. Yeah, so I sat down with her. We went over the evaluation. Everything was good. And then she tells me, next year, I'm going to place you in, wait for it, kindergarten. Kindergarten. I was like shocked. Oh, I think my jaw probably fell open because I did not have that on my radar. I thought maybe 4th, 5th, maybe as low as 2nd, but I never thought kindergarten. I really didn't. She gave a good choice. She gave me a good speech about it, though. She said that I just had the nice attitude, the good rapport with students, that I would do a good job with little kids. Just, it felt right for her. So I thought, you know what? Okay, let's do it. So here we are. We're going into next school year, year 6, and we're teaching kindergarten. I don't know how to feel about that, but I haven't done it yet. We're in June now, so I don't have to really worry about it until toward the probably middle of July. So maybe 3-4 weeks from now. Yeah. So anyway, where is my career going? We've gone through this whole spiel about how I got to where I'm at right this minute. What am I doing here? What's going on? Well, here's what's going on. Last year, I started, this isn't when I started the channel. I started the channel a while back, but I told you that I was doing a Star Wars YouTube channel. I told my spouse, hey, I want to be a content creator. I really look up to Disney Food Blog and allears.net and Catherine Manning. They're all pretty successful YouTubers. 2 of them blog about Disney. I go to Disney a lot. I told you I do the Galaxy's Edge at Hollywood Studios all the time. Latest and greatest, what's going on? I'm there. And Catherine is just a YouTuber that used to do YouTube like tips, and now she's kind of moved into home renovations and that kind of stuff. But anyway, I really look up to all 3 of those brands, and I told my spouse, I want to do this. I want to be a YouTuber. I want this for my job. I want to be able to quit being a teacher at some point and do this full time. So I've gone all in with YouTube, with my Star Wars channel, and now with this. And I'm really hoping, beyond hope, that, at some point I can quit teaching. Teaching is great. It really is. Working with kids is great. Please don't get me wrong with that. You have to like working with kids to be able to be a teacher. You just have to. It's the main thing that you're doing. But over the years, teachers are expected to do so much. So much. Paperwork, extra this, extra that, and the pay isn't that great. It's really not. I live in Florida. It's really low. It's probably one of the lowest paid states in the country. And it's just, it's bad. I mean, you are a therapist, mom, teacher. You're expected to take kids that can't read and haven't had socialization for nearly 2 years to perform and do well on a state exam. Teachers are asked to do the impossible in some cases. And it's bad. There's a teaching shortage for sure. All around. Like, my principal said that it took her a long time to fill all the positions at our school because people just aren't applying, and going everywhere to find people is getting really difficult. So there's that. So here I am, starting my YouTube journey. I'm starting this podcast to kind of share things about me that you might not get from my Star Wars channel. I love Star Wars, I do, but there are a lot of other things that I really like as well. I like Lego. I've got some Lego flowers here. I love Disney. I love creating. I love having a creative outlet. I love my family. I love to cook sometimes. I like to try new things. I like to use different makeup and beauty products. I'm all over the place, really. I like a lot of stuff, and I really wanted a place where I could express that. I also wanted to share my career path. My career path has not been easy. It has been very hard. Going from majoring in marketing, not even knowing what marketing was. Like, how dumb is that? Not knowing what something is and being like, I want to do that for the rest of my life. Thinking that an 18-year-old kid, and I'm going to say kid because at that point you still are a kid. I mean, come on, you're an adult, but you're a kid. Having a kid pick a career path so early on, just know that you are not locked into whatever you are doing. If you don't like what you're doing, you don't have to do it anymore. I mean, it might take a while to change careers. You might have to go to school. You might need to, apply and all of those things that you have to do. Make a life for yourself. You can do something different. It might end up being a side hustle at first, like I'm doing right now. But once you do it, you're going to feel so much better about the future and what you have to look forward to. So anyway, I think that is it. That is the end of our first episode of the MisAdventures of Miss Lindsey. So I hope you enjoyed this journey with me. It's been very exciting. I have thought a lot about this podcast and starting it, and if it was going to be video, if it was just going to be audio, what we were going to do, planning it all out. It's been a lot, but I have enjoyed every second of sitting here and sharing my story with you. And I hope to do that again very soon. I plan on putting out an episode a week, so stay tuned for that. I'm not sure exactly what day yet. I love to say that I'm going to do it every Tuesday and it's going to be up by Wednesday at this time, but I want to be realistic too. So today is Tuesday. I don't know if I'm going to, have this edited and all that stuff by the next day or if it's going to be more at the end of the week. I'm going to shoot for later this week. This episode's going to be up. So please feel free to give us a thumbs up and like this video if you enjoyed it. It helps spread the word, helps me get a bigger audience. If you really want to, please subscribe to my channel. This is my very first video and I don't have any subscribers yet, so feel free to be that first subscriber. I really am looking forward to seeing where this journey takes me. I have had a blast doing this. I hope to reach as many people as possible and spread the word. And I will catch you on the next one.